Yeah,
And,
let's
and
let's talk about that for a minute, because once upon a time we all know that Vince is actually going to buy the Georgia territory so he can get that TBS space, but Ole's going to continue to run a show there. So at one point in 1985, there's actually 3 different wrestling shows airing on Ted Turner's TBS: Championship Wrestling from Georgia, Vince McMahon's WWF, and Bill Watts' UWF. And you just mentioned, of all those, Bill's outfit oftentimes got the best ratings.
yeah, well, it was produced episodically. You know, when you're running a television show primarily as an infomercial to promote your local live events, just by nature, the shows are produced episodically. You go back and pick up what happened last week. That was a big piece of business. Bring it forward, that type of stuff. So things keep getting connected, and it's very compatible and very friendly to a TV viewer. It's like watching your favorite soap opera. And Cowboy made sure that he wrote that show, he and Ernie, to where there were cliffhangers and surprises, and they wrote it like a television producer should. And so it worked out well in that regard. But the show did really good on TBS. We thought we did so good. We thought, well, this is going to be a layup. We're going to finally find our spot on TBS. But politics and money nixed it.
Let's talk about the money, because that's something we haven't spent a lot of time on. You know, there's been a lot of people writing and discussing over the years the Crockett's decision to buy not 1, but 2 planes over the years. But with Mid-South taping in Atlanta, Watts actually buys a $750,000 plane to fly back and forth. I realize, you know, he's battling a behemoth here in Vince McMahon and his quest to take over the country with the WWF and in the territory system. But man, if we're talking about business maybe taking a dip, and it's a high stakes game of cards here, a $750,000 gamble on a plane in 1985, that's a big one, is it not?
Yeah. Are you talking about Cowboy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had that plane before the Crockett talk ever started. Only because it got him around in the territory. It was a smaller plane. I think it seated maybe 4 passengers and a pilot and a co-pilot type thing. I don't think it had a bathroom, but it might have. I don't remember. I would have remembered that probably, especially now at my age. I got to pee every 10 minutes. Yeah, that was he already had that plane. And, you know, when we were trying to expand our syndication, so we're making sales calls like in Little Rock. So you could fly from Oklahoma to Little Rock in 30 minutes, or you could drive it in 4 hours.
Right.
So that was the basis behind the plane. And Bill had his pilot's license, commercial pilot's license. He was a good pilot. So he didn't have to hire a pilot. More often than not, when we go on these sales calls, I sat in the co-pilot's chair like a big shot. I wrote shotgun. But you always wonder, the morbid thoughts, well, what if he keels over? What if he has a seizure or some shit?
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there I was thinking all these movies on TV, these scenes on movies and TV I've seen about people trying to emergency land a plane.
Yeah.
All that going through my mind. So anyway, but that was the deal on the plane.
Hey, so let me ask you, I didn't know that you had ridden co-pilot when Bill was flying.
Yeah.
But you've been in a plane that was piloted by Bill Watts, and you've been in a car that was piloted by Vince McMahon. What was scarier?
Well, Vince has got great depth perception. He'll tell you that. But when he was driving about 80 or 90 in Ohio, I think it was, and he was working the cones, road construction cones on the road every little bit, he was weaving in and out of those at a high rate of speed. And I was a little puckered at that point, I'll have to admit. The thing about, Bill was so attentive to his details as far as this piloting. He was highly trained. He had, great credentials, serious, believe it or not. And a lot of people didn't know his expertise in flying. he got that bug from Eddie Graham, because Eddie used to fly his own plane. Many of us know. And it just allowed Bill, he's the top baby face. Well, let's back up. He's the owner. You got to pay all the bills. He's the top baby face. In addition to being the booker, his plate was pretty full.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it saved time. It was a convenience thing. And I think Eddie used to take, they used to go to the towns in the plane, run down to Miami or wherever it may be, up to Jacksonville. So the plane became a kind of a necessary evil, or access to a plane in the territory era, if your territory was growing. Because all those years, Mid-South was a car territory.
Right.
Every booking was made by land. And as you continue to grow, those trips get longer. And to maximize your income, you're running shows every day, 7 days a week. The store never closes except for the holidays. So the plane became a expensive but necessary evil.
Let's talk about something else that
I took that plane to Atlanta, Connor, and that's where we did the deal with Jimmy and Rob Garner.
Okay, wow, okay. Well, let's talk about another deal that was supposedly discussed. As the legend goes, Bill Watts and Ted Turner had a handshake deal that Bill was going to step up when the Vince McMahon deal expires. But instead, Jim Crockett winds up buying the time slot from Vince for $1 million. And I guess, according to Mr. Watts, Turner backs out of whatever deal that he had. Do you remember there being a handshake deal about Bill taking over?
I just know they came to, I don't know about the handshake and all the formality of that, or this double secret handshake or whatever. But I remember Bill thought they had a deal. He thought they had a deal, and he was very confident at that time that we were going to land on TBS sooner than later.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.